InvestComics TV.
Hi, I'm Jay Katz, and welcome to InvestComics TV. I am here with Daniel Corey, comic book writer. How are you tonight?
I'm good. How are you?
Pretty good. Actually, it's not tonight for you because you're all the way in LA.
Yeah, it's evening. It's early evening right now.
Yes, yeah. I can never get used to that.
Yeah. Well, thank you for accommodating me with the time change and all, so I appreciate that.
Hey, no problem, no problem at all. So, Daniel, why don't you tell our viewers a little bit about yourself?
Daniel Corey, primarily a writer, originally from Central Florida, Orlando, Florida area. Kind of came up in the arts, as a kid, working in the theater mostly. Studied music in school, University of Central Florida, Golden Knights. I studied intensely in the theater for about 5 years with Ken Muello's New York Acting Ensemble in Central Florida there. As a actor, playwright, director. Did a lot of work in the theater, transitioned into writing screenplays, wrote a novel, and eventually worked my way into writing comic books. My wife and I came out here to Los Angeles about almost exactly 8 years ago. About last week was our anniversary, actually. Wow. To get involved in the entertainment industry. And so far, and this has been a big year for us, with Moriarty coming out and all that with InvestComics. So kind of comic book writing is where I've landed as my primary gig right now. And I guess this kind of covers the basics.
Right. So how did you wind up from going from theater to acting? You play guitar, I presume. You have a guitar behind you. Very cool. Yeah. And how did you go from that into comic book writing? How did that occur?
It was a slippery slope. No, but I was working my way down the literary chain. No, but really, music is always, is always been the prime motivator of everything that I do artistically and in life. So, I play a few instruments. I play piano and guitar. I sing a little. That's not my primary thing, but I studied it in school and definitely have a very musical background, and that's kind of what holds me together, really. That's where music comes in my life. Right. The theater is just where I learned, just really about what art really is and how important art is. Right. In the world, to duplicate human experience in that way, on a stage, in very close proximity to an audience. It's a very powerful thing. Mm-hmm. It makes an audience think about themselves, makes people think about their relationship with the world, with God, with spiritual things. So the theater is a very important force in the world. And that's where I really discovered this is what I want to do. I want to influence people through art. I want to, have people think about themselves, their lives through art. So I started off in the theater doing that, and, it was just a natural, studying storytelling as I did, in the theater with Ken Muello there and the New York Acting Ensemble. I basically learned that, the idea of story and human experience can be transmitted across many different media. So that's why I experimented in film writing, experimented in novel writing, and, landed in comics as, basically, besides being a lifelong fan of comics, came to the conclusion that, as far as telling stories to people right now, what's the most relevant way to do it, to reach a mass audience? Right. What's the most culturally significant? That's why I decided to move into comic writing. I thought this is the way I can have the most impact on folks right now. And I love the medium, because you're basically creating equivalent of, it's close to TV, it's close to movies in that you're using a combination of images and words. Obviously there's no sound or motion involved, but
right.
You can, evoke moments the way, actors do, so like, my artist Anthony, whom I work with, Anthony Diachibua, does a wonderful job. He's a great director of actors. They're just imaginary actors.
Right.
People you see on the page, they express moments that you go on an emotional journey with them.
Mm-hmm.
So, that's how I landed in comics, is just trying to find a way to really, like get involved in art, trying to communicate to people, trying to help change the world in a positive way, and trying to communicate to a mass audience. And comics was the most relevant way to do that, it seems.
That's very interesting. So, basically, you also write screenplays too, you said, or have you? You've done that, correct?
Yep.
Oh, cool. So do you have aspirations to possibly write a movie one day, or?
Oh, sure. I mean, I've already written plenty. You just haven't seen them yet. But, like, I've written the Moriarty movie, already.
Wow. Cool.
Yeah. So,
okay. So speaking of Moriarty, I want to get to that actually. Why don't we take a quick break? Then when we come back, we'll touch on your comic book from Image, Moriarty. Sound good?
All right.
We'll be right back. Thanks.
All righty.
Discount Comic Book Service, where you can save 40 to 75% off on new comics, collected editions, graphic novels, action figures, statues, and other one-of-a-kind items from DC, Marvel, Image, Dark Horse, Boom Studios, Top Cow, Dynamite, and many, many more. Go to www.dcbservice.com for easy ordering and fast delivery. Or you can visit our brick-and-mortar location at 10202-C Coldwater Road in Fort Wayne, Indiana. DCBS, welcome home.
Hi, and welcome back to InvestComics TV. Here with Daniel Corey once again. And basically, before we went to break, we were about to talk about the Image comic Moriarty that has come out. Tell us a little bit about the story.
Well, Moriarty, for folks that, that name probably sounds familiar to a lot of people. Moriarty is the arch nemesis of Sherlock Holmes, and everybody certainly knows Sherlock. Now, he's the great detective created by the great Sir Arthur Conan Doyle. Sir Arthur Conan Doyle, he wrote a ton of Sherlock stories. At one point, he didn't want to write them anymore, so he had to create somebody that could defeat Sherlock. So he created Professor James Moriarty, and
pretty good.
Yeah, it's not good.
Can we do the whole interview like that?
I think I might get tiresome for the folks watching. I would enjoy it. We would enjoy it, but the folks watching, for sure.
Exactly.
There was a death of Sherlock that Doyle had created in the story, The Final Problem. Where, Sherlock and Moriarty, met at Reichenbach Falls and, apparently killed each other, but it all happened off stage, as it were. Watson comes and discovers the telltale signs of the struggle later and assumes that they're both dead. So I think Doyle, he didn't want to write stories anymore. He wanted to kill the character off, but he wasn't a dummy. He left it open-ended. And sure enough, Sherlock emerges from death several years later, reporting that he won the duel with Professor Moriarty, and Professor Moriarty was indeed dead. That's the quick background on the character.
Cool.
He's mentioned in a few stories, but he only appears as a peripheral player in one other story called The Valley of Fear, a novel and adventure. He never appears, on the page, on stage, as it were. Sherlock just talks about him.
Right.
But what I wanted to do for our story is I wanted to take Moriarty and make him our protagonist. And we've seen him portrayed. I mean, popular culture has elevated him to the level of, ultimate villain, ever-present villain, even though he appeared very little in those stories. And the reason for that is I think people are just fascinated by the idea of him. And people love, the idea of the ultimate bad guy out there pulling the strings, causing all the ills of the world. Mm-hmm. So I decided to make him protagonist of our story, and the premise of our story as it begins is that the showdown at Reichenbach Falls ended up a little differently. Sherlock is dead, and Moriarty goes on with life after that. But we pick up 20 years later at the outbreak of World War I, and Moriarty's criminal empire has completely fallen apart. He's a shell of what he once was. He's basically kind of working as a private eye, street hustler, mainly working for other criminals, trying to help them out with their petty schemes. He's standing at the graveside of Sherlock Holmes, mourning the loss, because without his great foe, life has no meaning,
Right.
But things quickly, get a little complicated as British security services, MI5, come to Moriarty and they say to him, Sherlock's brother, Mycroft Holmes, has gone missing. We need you to find him. And Moriarty knows it's a trap, but it's a Holmes. There's a Holmes involved, so it's too good to pass up. It's like, I'm going to get involved in this. But, of course, things complicate way, beyond what he imagines at first.
Right.
There's a psychic box that everybody's looking for, secret technologies. There's ninja assassins involved. There's all kinds of espionage. And there's this other great villain that threatens to be greater than Moriarty's legend ever was, and so he's got to kind of take back the night and become the world's greatest criminal mastermind again.
Wow, that's very cool. That sounds amazing. So who else is involved in the story besides yourself, like making the actual Image comic book? Who's the artist, the inker? Tell us a little bit about them and how you got them on board.
Well, the main guy that I've been working with for quite a while now is Anthony Dietchituo, who I mentioned earlier. Anthony's an amazing artist. He's the primary artist on the book. He and I we worked together on a few projects before Moriarty. The first thing we did an animatic video together of a screenplay that I was pitching. He did all the artwork for that, and I animated it, and the project came together very nicely. So from there we decided to do a comic together. So I had created this, written the script for Prophet, it was called. It was a supernatural spaghetti western. So we spent, better part of a couple of years putting that together. We eventually put out a volume 1 trade, Prophet, which is available online and such. That was very well received. It got us a little street cred in the comics industry, got a little street cred in the movie industry here. I've been pitching it ever since, as an animated series and a film, that's gone well.
Is that self-published, or is that with the company, or who's it?
Yeah, I formed my own company called Danger Cat.
Okay.
And that was because I had done a lot of different things, with music and with theater, writing novels, films, comic books. I wanted to have one overarching, umbrella to encapsulate all my projects. So I formed a company called Danger Cat. So it's Danger Cat Creative Studio. So that was a Danger Cat product.
Nice.
Profit. Yeah, it's available through Comics Press. If anybody wants to go check it out, order it. It's available for download on wowio.com. I got to put in a little plug, sorry.
Hey, absolutely, yes.
But that's a Danger Cat production.
Cool.
Profit. Now, with Moriarty, I knew we were going to be playing with quite a big canvas, and I wanted to seek out a bigger company with some bigger reach and bigger distribution opportunities. So we got together and started putting together Moriarty. I mean, I spent a couple of years writing the script and really honing the story and defining the world the way I wanted it to be. Spent a lot of time on that. And then Anthony and I got together and did a lot of intense research together. We looked at books, we looked at old silent movies, a lot of visual reference, discussed just the mood of the project, the feel of it, and Anthony cranked out some amazing images, as I knew he would. And we put together a pitch book, like 8 sequential pages, first 8 pages of the comic, some concept drawings, and then a page that kind of summarized the story. We spent a couple of years shopping that, really a long time. After a while, Image emerged at the top of the heap and said, we're interested, and eventually we signed with them. They started putting the book out.
Nice.
So at that point, this is very cool. At that point, we had to kind of expand the team a little bit because we started getting on a schedule and deadlines and such. So Anthony started. He's pencil and ink now. Starting with issue 3, we got Perry Freeze on colors. Starting with issue 1, actually, we got Dave Lanfear on letters and on design. So he letters the books. He designed our logo. He puts everything together, makes it print ready. Manages all of that. And Dave's, he's quite a comics veteran. He's worked for everybody. He does a lot of stuff for Marvel currently. I have a hard time keeping up with everything he's working on, actually. He does so much. But he works with us, so I'm very happy we have him. But yeah, so that's the core team right now. It's me, Anthony, Dave Lanphier, Perry Freeze, and Image is putting the book out.
Very
that's
cool.
The kind of so
nice. So why of all the characters back in the day, all the detectives of all time, why did you hone in on Sherlock Holmes as a story to pick on? Why Sherlock Holmes?
That's a good point. There's a lot of great detective novels like by Gaston Leroux and Edgar Allan Poe, obviously.
Yeah.
I just like with everybody, I have a natural affinity for Sherlock Holmes, and I've been a fan my whole life. I started reading the stories when I was a little kid. I had this gigantic tome of the complete stories that I used to lug around and read. That kind of thing makes you real popular at school, by the way. There's something about Sherlock that just, laugh it up, I'm a nerd. What are you going to do? Oh, no.
Oh, well, yes.
But to each his own. Sherlock, like I said, I'm natural friendly to him because, he's a guy that you don't want to really be like him because he's not really a good person or a nice person, but you do have a sense of when you read Sherlock that I can order my existence in a way, like Sherlock does. I can, figure out the world by looking at all these little small clues and, thereby, live a better life and control things, about me,
Right.
There's kind of a comfort to Sherlock Holmes. That's why everybody loves him so much, and that's why he's adapted so often. I didn't want to tell a Sherlock story though, because obviously it's done a lot. So
yeah.
I started thinking about the bad guy. I'm like, wow, nobody's really told the Moriarty story. It turns out, there has been novels. I didn't go read them because I didn't want to steal from them.
Right.
But there hasn't been a comic that I know of. I'm sure somebody has maybe done one before, and I just don't know about it. But there hasn't been a Moriarty comic. Now, I thought about, Moriarty, I want to do Moriarty's story. Now, should I write Moriarty novels? But then again, came back to what I said earlier, what's the most relevant way to tell a story right now in popular culture that's going to affect people's lives? And I'm like, well, I'm going to do a Moriarty comic.
Mm-hmm.
That's how I kind of arrived, in the world that I'm in now, given that there was a lot of choice of public domain stuff. That's how I landed on Moriarty. Yeah.
So how many, are we dealing with a regular series, or is this going to be a limited series or a continuing series? What are we looking at?
It's ongoing. Yes.
Okay.
We're getting ready to, start our second storyline. This month, August here, we released our fourth issue of The Dark Chamber, which is their first storyline. So we concluded The Dark Chamber. In September 14th, our first volume trade is coming out. So Moriarty, The Dark Chamber. That's our volume 1 trade. It's coming out from Image to the comics shops on September 14th and the book market on September 20th. Now, after that, we're going to continue. So issue 5 starts The Lazarus Tree, which is our next storyline. That comes out October 5th. October, November, December, and so on. Next several issues are going to be the Lazarus Tree. So we're going to keep going. It's an ongoing thing, and each storyline is going to have its own particular episode name. But it's ongoing. It's going to be monthly.
That's awesome. So what's in the future for Daniel Corey besides Moriarty? What else do you have in the works or planning, or is this really your main focus right now?
Well, this is definitely 100% the main focus right now. I have other things, I have Prophet still, like I mentioned earlier. We have our volume of Prophet, and like I said, that's been a very nice property to have to pitch around town. It's gotten a lot of interest. I can't say that I've had any solid bites on it yet, but it's definitely has a lot of interest both as a film and as an animated series. So we've been pitching that. Prophet's the other main thing that I have going on. I have another project that I'm working on right now, another comic/movie project, but I don't want to talk about it too much because It might not happen.
Okay, yes, exactly.
You don't want to ever get ahead of yourself this early in the game. But I will say that it's dealing in the crime genre. But with the comics, because I'm a huge fan of the crime genre, obviously. So that's the main focus of where I want to work right now with my comics and movie projects. With the comics, I'm looking to blend crime with other genres. So,
right.
Obviously, Moriarty it's part Sherlock Holmes style mystery, part Philip Marlowe, American hard-boiled private eye mystery, part science fiction.
Nice.
So the next project I'm doing is definitely a crime/science fiction story.
Very cool.
So
very good.
Yeah.
Okay. So one more time, where can we get Prophet? Where can we find that book and to pick that up?
Comicspress.com, and it's COMIX Press.
Okay.
And you just go to the website and just do a search for Prophet, and you can order the trade paperback there. It's only $9.99. It's 150 pages, so it's like 120 pages of story with a ton of extras, and sketch galleries and stuff. So it's a really good value. And also, if you want to do it as digital downloads, it's available at Wowio. That's wowio.com. You can get 99-cent PDF downloads of Prophet there.
Nice.
So that's how you can get your hands on Prophet.
Very cool.
And
also, as far as Daniel Corey goes, the writer, where can we follow you? Do you have a Facebook? Do you have Twitter? Do you have a website? Where can we follow you?
The Twitter is twitter.com/DangerCat. That's Danger KATT, all one word. Okay. Danger Cat's my company. It's Danger KATT. My Facebook is just search for Daniel Corey on Facebook. It's facebook.com/Daniel.Corey if you want to become friends on Facebook. Website is ProfessorJamesMoriarty.com.
Very cool. All right. So we got a lot to look forward to, as far as Moriarty, and we're going to check out Prophet as well. And thank you so much for coming.
It is the dawn of World War I, and Sherlock Holmes has been dead for 20 years. Professor James Moriarty is a lost man when he is approached by MI5 and blackmailed into finding Holmes's long-lost brother, Mycroft. What at first appears to be a routine case leads to a web of intrigue that involves a psychic box, a woman from his past, and a new villain that threatens to be greater than he ever was. Will he unravel this complex mystery and reclaim his former glory as the world's greatest criminal mastermind? Or will he fade into obscurity? Moriarty, the Dark Chamber.